have we here? You heard my call. You're imbalanced, Swampy.
How would it Swampy looking for Starfruit? It calls to you.
Hello explorers and welcome to episode 13 with myself Jack from the UK. As always, I'm joined by the lovely lady herself, rivaling the good looks of Padme all the way from Canada. It's Taylor.
Oh, would it make me feel good right away?
There we go.
Hello,
And also from the heartland of USA, a legend himself who requires no introduction. It's the old guy Jedi himself, Jimmy.
Howdy, folks.
Howdy.
So we'll start with you then. Taylor, how's your week been?
My week's been good. There is a lot of bees out right now around where I live in British Columbia, or I guess I should say wasps and hornets. So it's just that time of year where all of the queens die, and then all the the other ones are all just super mad all the time. So everyone's getting stung by bees everywhere around here. So it's good. It's been an interesting week. Oh, and I almost totaled my car yesterday, but it's okay because I'm here. Don't laugh.
Nice. How about you, Jimmy?
Good. This is we're getting to this part. If you have any teacher friends, you need to watch out for them because this is where we start getting sad and a little depressed. We've got 1 week left. Our French exchange student will show up on Sunday next week, so 1 week from today, from recording, and then I'll go back to school a little bit early because I'm a department chair. But my freedom is about to be swept away from me. So we kind of get like,
welcome to our world, Jimmy.
Yeah, I know. I have to go back to being a commoner that has to work every day. So I'm not looking forward to that.
No more traveling across the state.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. So how about you, Jack? How was your week been?
I am the complete opposite to you. I've got 1 week left of work. So I'm hoping this week flies by. And then I've got 3 weeks off, and I will be starting Cataclysm as soon as this podcast is done. I'm getting straight on that book.
So good.
Our listeners will learn as to why later on.
So what Force encounters have you guys had this week? What about you, Jimmy?
Well, last night we had dinner with friends. And then we came home, we weren't sure what to do. And my beautiful, lovely, smart wife, Molly, goes, "You have any Legos you haven't built?" And I'm like, hell yeah. So we grabbed some Lego Legos that we hadn't built yet. I think she built the AT-ST from Hoth that has Chewbacca. And I did the TIE Bomber. And we just hung out. We watched the TV and just did some Legoing. So that was pretty fun.
Man, she's a keeper.
Oh yeah, she's not going anywhere, folks.
That is
awesome. How about you, Jack?
Yeah. I got 2 little ones. So my daughter got all teary-eyed because she heard her name mentioned on the podcast. So again, hello Tessa. So at least someone's listening for us.
Yeah, Tessa,
Christy's
number
listening.
1 fan.
Yeah, Molly's now doing Lego with Jimmy. So guess what we'll be doing at some point over the next 3 weeks together. And yesterday I was at the horse racing, and I put some money on a horse called Grey Falcon. So I went to Star Wars, put a bit of money on it, and it was not the fastest horse, and it was a hunk of junk, and we'll leave it at that.
Oh yeah, I saw your photos on Facebook, man. You're looking all dapper.
Yeah. Nice,
all dressed up, and so
like an actual Greylark.
You
there
did.
You are. All right.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
We have had a ton of news come out, so let's head over to Bat 2 and hear what we've got.
Cool. So first bit of news that we've got then is during a conversation with EW.com at Star Wars Celebration Europe 2023, Daphne Keane, who plays Jackie in the upcoming series The Acolyte on Disney Plus, said that there's going to be a lack of guns in the show. Now, I know obviously guys that have been to Celebration already know this, but it's come to light a little bit more. She wasn't even sure if she was allowed to announce that. However, my own personal views for that, I think it's brilliant. It means more fighting, hopefully, more lightsaber battles. What about you guys?
Yeah.
Well, have people seen the Acolyte trailer yet, or it's just? I don't mean to rub it in Taylor's face, but as anyone who's not been to Celebration,
I think it's out on the YouTube now. Yeah, it's out on YouTube.
Yeah,
Is
and I
it?
think
Okay,
Jack
so-
actually sent me like the blurriest recording of it when you guys were. It wasn't you? No, okay. Somebody sent me a super blurry video of it from Celebration because some of you guys watched it at Celebration, right? I don't know. I don't know if I have actually watched it on YouTube since. Like, is it actually like released yet?
I'm sure.
I don't know.
I'm sure it's out there.
There's that scene with Carrie and Moss fighting that assassin,
Mm-hmm.
and she doesn't even use a lightsaber. She's just straight up like
so cool. Oh my gosh.
They won't need them. They won't need them if they're going to do stuff like that in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, no issues with that whatsoever. It's been being reported by AboveTheLine.com that Donald Glover and his brother Stephen Glover are now writing Disney Plus Lando series after Haunted Mansion director Justin Simien left the project. So this is pretty exciting because they announced this at this was Disney D23. They announced, like, had all those announcements and then nothing, and there's lots of speculation. And apparently they've, from what I've read, they had signed the contracts and stuff like that just before the writer's strike. So they're kind of announcing this. Donald Glover was actually supposed to write a whole series on Deadpool for, I don't know what it was. So the guy, I mean, obviously he's very creative, young Gambino and all that stuff, or Childish Gambino and his TV and movie and all the stuff he's in. But I am excited because he'll have some stakes in this because, it's a character he wants to bring to light. And so this is pretty exciting. What do you guys think about this series? Especially after, right after, they announced this, but then a week ago, Bob Iger is saying, well, we're going to slow down on TV shows.
I think it's brilliant. I can't wait for it. I want to see more of this Lando. I really like. I love Solo, the film. So yeah, more Lando.
I am excited, and it's funny because we've always kind of known that the Lando series was it's in the works. It's always that Lando name has been like on the list of upcoming for so long, and then all of a sudden they come out saying, what's his face is Glover is going to be writing it, and it's like, okay, wait, so it is happening finally, and that's what we're all missing. It's like, oh, he's going to be writing it with his brother, but it's like they've just confirmed that it is finally coming out, which is awesome.
Yeah,
and if he was going to write the Deadpool stuff, you've got to have a certain kind of attitude and personality in writing for that. Like you have to be obnoxious and silly and goofy. So I can only imagine that the series is going to be kind of like a comedic relief, right? But we don't really have something like that in Star Wars, so it could be really interesting, especially because I don't really know what else he's written, to be honest. I don't know if I haven't really looked into it, but I am really looking forward to it, and that's something that we can now all look forward to. But I mean, that's not to say this stuff doesn't change, and but I'm excited for it.
Yeah, it should be good. I'm excited. I hope that somehow they get Billy D. Williams in there. And even better news, not better news, but great news as well, the Ghost from HasLab has already hit 9,000 backers. They wanted 8,000 to put into production. I've never done this before. I don't know how it works. So if you're interested in getting the Ghost, you should probably hop on HasLab's website and get yourself locked in. It looks like they've got to where they're also going to include Ezra in the deal. So that's pretty exciting. This is going to be a collector's item.
That big giant one?
That big giant ship we talked about last week. I'm trying to find a place to put it, but we'll see. But yeah, no, it's pretty good.
Just hang it from the ceiling.
Just hang it from and tears out my ceiling joist or something. So.
Sorry, Molly. Well, over the last couple of days, a report from Forbes appeared with the headline, Disney spends $49 million on Star Wars spinoff, The Acolyte. Oh my gosh, that is very exciting for me. You guys. The Forbes article also mentions that details of The Acolyte are tightly under wraps, but add that an online rumor from recent days revealed that Keanu Reeves, from John Wick, is part of the cast. Is he actually? I mean, I
Rumored.
saw.
It's rumored.
I saw
rumored.
I saw rumors. Look at him. He looks
Yeah.
so badass, especially in his like older age. He could do that for sure. But that would be really cool if he is in it. The article itself did not link to where the rumor originated. It was reportedly by Giant Freaking Robot 6 days ago that Reeves filmed a cameo for the Disney Plus series. Really? That's so cool. Sorry, I'm reading this too. Reeves has long been a fan of Reeves has long been fan cast as Darth Revan, the beloved character from the Knights of the Old Republic games. So if it was true, then I'm sure some fans will be very delighted.
This is pretty big news. This is a huge rumor, obviously, but if it comes true, there have been ties to people wanting Keanu in Star Wars forever, Darth Revan, whatever. I think he'd be an awesome Jedi, be an awesome Sith.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever he does,
just resting face. Cool. He has like resting biatch face for men, but it's like good.
Yeah.
So just don't kill his loath cat. No one will get hurt.
Oh god, no!
Oh, brilliant!
Oh, god. Isn't he a fan of Star Wars too? I think I read somewhere that he likes.
He's a massive fan.
As he should be.
And I think I can't remember if I'm correct. Actually, this 49 million that they spent on the Acolyte is more money than they spent on Rogue One.
Really? Well, and this is a TV series.
Yeah, more in pre-production. That's So this series might be bonkers. It's starting to get. We don't try not to get negative, but there's been some stuff coming out. This series is starting to get marred in like a lot of good news, some weird news, a lot of clickbait. So I'll just be excited when it finally gets here. So,
oh my god, we're gonna have watch parties with everyone.
Yeah.
Well, that's our news this week, guys.
Awesome. So that's going to lead us nicely then into the main part of the show. So now we're going to head over and speak to our special guest. Today we have a special guest who's also a great friend of ours. He's a guy whose wisdom and knowledge is said to rival that of Master Yoda, and also is said to hold more information than the Jedi archives. Explorers, please welcome Starbirdfiles.
Yeah, welcome, Johnny.
Thank you for
having me.
How you doing,
Johnny? You good?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Awesome. So, first things first, pal. Okay, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and obviously tell us a bit about your tags and your sites.
Starbirdfiles, which I've been doing for everything now, since the beginning of 2021, so 2.5 years now, I guess. It's mainly Instagram, which is at Starbirdfiles. From there you can find links to other things like Facebook and blog and things like that, Redbubble store. I mainly started it as a book review type thing, but I've covered various other things and collecting and stuff on the Instagram and just reviewing things, some of the TV shows and things like that as and when I've felt like it, but it's mainly focused on books and comics as much as I get around to comics. Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome, because sometimes we don't have the time to go over those books and stuff, and I do happen to read all of your reviews and stuff like that, so I like that.
It's good to know
you keep me up to you keep me up to date with everything. And I also messaged Johnny a couple times about books, like, oh my god, chapter 36, because I know he's always read the book.
Yeah,
usually.
So, Johnny, when or where did this love of Star Wars start, or what got you into this?
When I was a kid, I guess, as a lot of us, I was born in '79, so by the time the movies were coming out on TV and on VHS, stuff like that, was when I started watching them. I still remember with A New Hope, I had a recording of it on VHS from off of TV. And for a long time, I still can in some places remember where the advert breaks were. because I watched it to death. So I watched the films when I was a kid, and then when I was a teenager, I read a few of the books, some of the old expanded universe as it is now, and then of course the special editions and the prequels came out, and so that got me back into Star Wars big time. And then kind of faded out again a little bit, but it was always in there in the background. And then
As we
when
all
the new
do.
films started coming out and everything, got me excited again, and just hasn't slowed down since, kind of thing. Been spending far too much of my money on books and toys and stuff
Sounds
like that
familiar.
ever since. So yeah.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I mean, I know when we got together, the three of us, to start this podcast, Johnny, you were actually one of the very first people we talked about bringing on because of, your Starbird Files and everything and all your good takes on everything. So we're super excited to have you here. And for people, I know we have a lot of people who listen to this. Sometimes they know us and they don't know Star Wars. I know a lot of my relatives are like, I don't know what you're talking about, but it's fun. And I was like, all right. Well, we're going to dive into what we call, Disney is calling the High Republic era. And it has been a bunch of different novels, comics, some audio dramas, and possibly ending with The Acolyte. I'm not sure exactly how that's all going to tie into it, but we are starting out with Phase 2, mostly because Taylor hasn't read Phase 1.
And
But
that's
we'll
just,
get
it
there.
starts that
And
time
phase 2 is just
too.
finished,
So
so
Yeah,
yeah.
and Phase 2 is just finished. So, just a little recap. So, the High Republic Phase 2 begins 150 years before Phase 1, The Light of the Jedi.
which is
Whereas,
200 years already before Phantom Menace.
yep, so we're looking at about 350 years prior to the Phantom Menace. Phase 2 starts with a book called Path of Deceit. It is a Galactic Republic's era of hyperspace prospecting before the hyperlanes of most of the galaxies were mapped. Communication isn't reliable. As the Republic sends out Pathfinder teams to make contact with Outer Rim planets, a brutal ongoing war between, how do you guys say these planets? Irium
Arano
and
and
Arona?
Iram. Arano,
Irano and
not
Iram?
Erono. Don't say
Irono?
Erono. I don't like that. It's Arano.
has this has this so these two planets are fighting with each other, and it's kind of a big part of the thing,
The
a
Forever War.
storyline, the Forever War, while clashing beliefs about the Force come to a head on Jeddah. Phase 1 is all about the High Republic coming to contact with certain gang led by certain people. So what we're basically going to do is we're going to dive into these books, kind of do a spoiler free version, and then we may dive into some spoilers and things like that for everybody.
We'll try to let you know before.
And yeah, we will. We'll let you know. All right. So, Taylor, you want to start us off?
So first, I believe we have some questions for Johnny. What are your overall thoughts on Project Luminous?
Well, one, I love it.
Nice.
It's kind of the reason I started Starboard Files. So it's like the Jedi was about to come out, and I just started, and I was unemployed at the time, and I need something to fill my time, essentially. So I started Starboard Files as something to do besides looking for jobs. So yeah, and with Phase 1, I just kind of fell in love with it. The fact it's kind of, separate to everything else, so it's 200 years before, and so even though I've watched all of Star Wars and read most of the new canon books, it's just really nice to have something that's like separate for all that. Yeah, there's a few people that cross over and bits and pieces, but for most thing, it's a fresh start. And I really like the characters. The way the Jedi are is different to how we knew them previously. The way that they're tested is completely different. The fact that the enemies that they have to face in Phase 1, it's not Sith, it's not Darkseid, it's not the Empire.
Yeah.
The Nihil, I'll just say it. And just it's really, especially in Phase 1, maybe a little less so in this phase, but in Phase 1 it's really Force philosophy heavy. I love in particular in Phase 1, each Jedi they describe has their own connection to the Force and the way that they see the Force, and they didn't seem to touch on that as much in this phase, I didn't think. But I love that particularly in Phase 1, that really floated my boat. So that's, High Republic in general, I guess.
Yeah,
That's
Awesome.
Johnny and I
Well,
were
with
both at Chicago together. Johnny, do you remember them announcing Project Luminous? And we're like, "Yay! What is this?" And then
Was that at Chicago? Oh,
I
wow.
think it was at Chicago. They announced the
yeah.
Project Luminous, and
I
then we're
certainly wasn't
like,
in the panel or anything, so I probably wouldn't have heard
"Yeah."
about it until I got home.
I've got a fond memory, a really fond memory of Johnny. So when we was at Celebration this year, where we all met, he was in the panel with me at the High Republic in the same room. And I remember when they announced what was coming up, and I remember looking over and just seeing yourself stood up going, yeah, going absolutely mental.
oh, that's so great. Well,
So,
Johnny, which do you prefer? So Phase 2 is the one that we're going to be focusing on today, which is the one that pretty much just ended. This is actually the prequel to Phase 1, if you would take it that way. So which did you prefer? Did you prefer the release of Phase 1 books or the release of Phase 2? And this also includes comics, so I know you've been in those too.
Yeah, I preferred Phase 1. One, it was a little bit, obviously it was 3 waves of books compared to 2 for this one.
Mm-hmm.
So we really got to know those characters and everything. And then with this phase, we go back 150 years, and it's away from all these characters that most of us have come to know and love. And it's like, well, why are we here?
yeah.
What's so
Yeah.
important that we have to know this first before we go to what's going to be Phase 3? Which became a bit of a thing. I enjoyed all of the books in Phase 2. I really did. But it became a thing as it went on, going, well, at what point are we going to start to see the connections on why this is necessary? And I think this, and I've heard a few other people do as well, that they kind of think that we should have gone straight to Phase 3. That's the High Republic project. And then they go, by the way, we've got all this other stuff that set that up 150 years before, and we'd all be like, woohoo, more High Republic. But again, I said some of these, there's a couple in particular that are two of my, that are in my top 5 of the High Republic. That sounds like, that shouldn't be too hard. There's not that much of it. There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of books, there's a lot of comics, there's audio dramas and mangas and all sorts. But I preferred Phase 1, but I thoroughly enjoyed this phase. And I'm interested to see how it ends up linking up, probably in ways that we don't expect into Phase 3.
Yeah, I'm quite similar to you, Johnny, in the fact that, and it's not just with Star Wars, I hate things where you get to know people and characters and stuff, and then the next one, like the second episode or second sequel, whatever, or the third one, is suddenly back to origin stories, and I'm like, oh, what is the point of that? But, as well, I'm with you. I prefer Wave 2 because there's less people to remember. Because I struggle to remember quite a lot of Jedis in that first one.
Yeah.
Especially with some of the stuff that's happening, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
right, moving on. But yeah, they do make it sort of worthwhile, I think, and do show the reasons why it's important to do the origin stuff.
Yeah.
But I think as well, my take is they wanted to do Wave 1 first, as they thought it's the most action-packed, in my opinion, and it was the one that would draw the most people in. Because at the panel, like they said, they were not expecting that panel in London to be as packed as it was. What was the panel like in Chicago, Jimmy?
I remember I think it was just part of like the Lucasfilm, like the Thursday or the Friday panel. So it was nothing like that. Oh, Project Luminous, and they didn't really say much about it. We left Chicago not knowing a whole lot. Of course, then COVID came in and things started kind of getting messed up there. And then in Anaheim, I could only get into the book ones. I didn't get into anything else, and they were like, I don't know, maybe half full at best. At best, they were half full. And of course, when we went, a year later, we go to London, and that place was rocking. I mean, people were freaking out beside me, losing their minds. like I thought I was at a Taylor Swift concert. People were losing their minds around me so much.
All the grown men around you
Johnny was
screaming.
living his Taylor Swift days, definitely.
So, but yeah, it's been pretty good. I've really enjoyed it so far. So
yeah, I remember Kevin Scott saying that. I'm sure he said there was something like at Anaheim or even Chicago. There's only like 50 people, but in that hall that we were in, there's thousands. And like you say, it was rocking. It was absolutely pumping.
Obviously, it's different for you, Taylor, but so I guess I'm kind of interested in how this worked as an introduction to the High Republic for you. And
You know
how you
what?
feel about now going on to Phase 1 and leaving behind the characters that you know and love in this phase.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. Well, I've had a few people ask me, like a couple of our followers who are also reading the books were asking, like, what is it like not reading the Phase 1 and hearing about the High Republic, like what's going on? And for me, like, I obviously don't know the difference, but it's such a big setup for the galaxy. Like, this is literally, you're learning how the Republic expanded their reach to new planets. These Jedi and these Pathfinder teams they're pioneering around the galaxy, which is so cool. And I really like origin stories. So for me, it opened my eyes to like the history of the Jedi, really. And I know we have like the Old Republic coming out, and so that's going to be exciting. And whenever that actually does release, but learning these characters, and like I know Marta Rowe, like I know how her like her heart is inside. Like I know she gets broken later in phase 2, phase 2. But like I have more of a connection to Marta than I will to Marchion Rowe, which I know or Marchion, however people want to say it, is how you guys have bonded to. You know that character more, right? And I know nothing about him other than he's got that cool single whatever helmet. So
the Eye of the Storm.
yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah.
for me, yeah, see, I have no idea. So for me, I loved learning about all these characters and how these Pathfinder ships had like the medic and all of that stuff. Like I loved that part of it. Like and there's no communication properly. Like there's hyperspace lanes that aren't even discovered yet, and I loved it. And like the
Yeah,
chancellors and how the Republic worked and stuff, so different from now. So cool. I love it.
yeah. I did like the way that they differentiated
Mm-hmm.
space, like the 150 years before, with like the communications and everything being difficult and having these Pathfinder teams. But that's one thing I was a little bit disappointed by, is like they made a lot of that before the phase came out about these Pathfinder teams and stuff, and I felt like it wasn't in it as much as I was expecting it to be, if you know what I mean. It's
That was
especially
mostly the young
they
reader
do
books,
it mostly in like the in the middle grade readers, don't they? I
Yeah,
think.
Yeah.
and this
Where they have the Pathfinder teams, like the
Yeah.
oh, no.
And I know a lot of people didn't like those middle grade books, but I did. But then again, I have like the mind of a
I like those.
child, so
Yeah. I thought they were better than the middle grade books in Phase 1.
Yeah.
see, I like Trimestra, so
What was you saying there, Jimmy?
I was just like I liked the middle grade ones from Phase 1 better because like Vern's in them and some other things I didn't really jive with. I did like the fact that these characters were a little more important, and I read the very last mid grade book last, and I shouldn't have done that because it
Planet
kind of
X.
ruined it for me. So Planet X, yeah, I should have read that before I read. Was it Path of Deceit? No,
No,
Path of
Path of Vengeance.
Yeah.
So that might be part of my problem. I mean, they were good; they're good stories, but I didn't like them as much. So
Yeah, I think with this phase, I read the beginning out of order, so I read Convergence first, rather than
No.
Path of Deceit. I think that's just because of UK releases, because the ones from Disney Lucasfilm come out late here, and the ones from Del Rey are kind of on time.
You can get away with that,
I
though,
ended
I
up
think.
with getting my hands on that one first. So I'm like, well, I'm not waiting. I'm reading it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get away with that, though, I think, with this.
Yeah, I
with
think
the
so,
Phase.
yeah.
So the Path of Deceit is probably the foundation for everything, but it's not
Yeah.
mission critical.
because not
Well,
a
some
ton
of these
happens in
books
that
are
book.
happening at the same time as each other too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Which is cool.
All right, so this is probably the toughest question we're going to ask everyone here, especially you, Johnny. what or who is your favorite character from Phase 2?
I don't know if I can pick one.
God.
So I've got a short list.
Okay.
Marder and Yana, Rose, the two cousins. Marder, just because she's fascinating. How her mind works, I'm not entirely sure, but but I also think that Yana is really underrated. I really like Yana and kind of the journey she goes on. They almost kind of flip in the end because I think, well, in terms of who I liked, I guess, like Marder started off in Path of Deceit, really liked her, really interesting, and then she goes on this journey. By the end, I really don't like her.
You just want to punch her.
Fantastic character, really don't like her. Whereas Yana, I started off not liking, and now I really like her as a character. Because in the beginning of this, she's kind of more of Marder's more spiritual and kind of like not
Innocent.
Not the word I'm looking for. Yeah, just kind of like kind and that kind of thing. And then Yana is more. She's just out there doing stuff, stealing things, killing people, whatever. And they kind of switch by the end, and Marder's the one that kind of goes nuts. and, and Yana kind of, and she hates the Jedi, and Yana kind of ends up not hating the Jedi. So I thought it was really interesting that those two kind of diverged and almost became more similar to the other one was in the beginning. Another one I like, which is from the main Marvel comic, is Ty Sirak.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Sirik.
Who's kind of a... Well, it's hard to describe what he is. He's kind of a rogue, but he used to be part of the guys of the Wheels, and he kind of looks out for people, and
More
he's a
than
lot
he
of
should.
fun, especially his relationship with Vildar Mac. In terms of Jedi, I think in the end, Matty Cathley was my favourite. The Twi'lek, she starts off in the comics, and then she's in Path of Vengeance, one of the main characters in Path of Vengeance. I also like Yelena Ty and Creighton's son. I think Creighton's kind of the Obi-Wan Kenobi of this era.
For sure. He for sure is.
And the last person I'll bring up is not because I like them, it's because I hate them. And that's Axel Greylock. And I don't know why people like him. He's spoiled, entitled, privileged rich kid who does nothing but lie and deceive people.
It's true.
For his own purposes until he discovers that the mother is going to kill him in the end. So then he changed his sides. And apparently we're supposed to forgive him for that. Don't know. He's pretty, I guess.
Oh, poor Axel.
Oh. Well, that's a good segue to you, Taylor, because we know you love Axel.
I do. He's very misguided. I'm like I'm gonna be the opposite of you guys today. Yeah, I don't want to take over, but I do like Axel. He throughout the whole series, like he doesn't show up in Path of Deceit, but he starts in Convergence, and then we see him right to pretty much through. Actually, he's not in Battle for Jedha, is he? But he's in Convergence and Cataclysm.
Cataclysm,
And yes, he starts off in a bar drinking, like, and he's just super entitled, and he's like, what? He's one of those guys that just hooks up with chicks, and he's partying and whatever, right? And he doesn't care, and you can tell that he's rebelling against his mother, because his mother is one of the two chancellors of the Republic. So any good story that we know, the kids are always, the good parents have the terrible kids because they're just trying to revolt, right? But he does learn. He's a very slow learner, but we'll give him that. But in the end, he does kind of learn, poodoo. He's been doing this all wrong, and he's been totally played by, bad people, and he does turn out good at the very end. But really, if he was given a better option, I feel like he would have taken it as well. Let's be honest.
Jack, what about you?
I like Axel Greylock. but again, like the same reasons as Johnny, just because the character and how he changes. And for the books that I've read so far as well, there's quite a bit of backstory to him, so I like that. I'm trying to think, really. I think my favourite, just because he is a pure dealer of death, is the Blade. Oh, that series is cool. I absolutely love the Blade.
The comic series.
Yeah,
Walter Engel. Yeah.
yeah. I really love the Blade. Yeah, I think he's the main guy for me in that phase. What about you, Jimmy?
Very cool. Sunshine Hobbs.
Dog.
Just kidding.
Good.
That son of a.
Oh man, that guy. Oh man, it's really hard. Like you got, obviously, we all struggling a little bit. I think with Maddie, the way she sees the Force, she's the one that sees the Force in color, correct? Like she sees like people kind of like in a different.
Rupert
Like Johnny,
sees colors in the Force.
Is it Rupert? Okay, Rupert.
Rupert sees colors in the Force.
But Salandra's show, and her Captain
Salandra,
America
I forgot
shield,
about her.
Salandra.
Yeah! The shield of the people.
And that's again, I love the Jedi. Like, Johnny, you talked about it in Phase 1. You see a ton of it, Taylor. I'm excited for you to get into that, and like how Avar Kriss hears the Force and all these other things. But that shield and her, she's kind of almost like a Qui-Gon of this era, where she's like, we're supposed to be protectors, and I don't want to get my lightsaber out unless I absolutely have to do it. And there's scenes in the mid-grade novel, Quest for the Hidden City, I believe, where she comes out and she's like fighting these monsters with it. I would love to see that live action. I think that would be so
just
cool.
like whipping it around.
I think
like
she's
Captain America.
definitely one of my favorites. There's a ton, and then of course Vildar Mack from the comic series. I enjoyed his arc, and I would have liked to see a little bit more of him in the books. But yeah, I think there's no shortage of great characters and great Jedi and villains and everything like that in this phase. So for me, I mean, not as many as in Phase 1, but I think there's still plenty for everyone to find someone like themselves and to find someone they can kind of relate to or just enjoy the story arc. And but having said that, so next we kind of talked about, we're mentioning books here and there. So Johnny, do you have a favorite book from this run? And if you need to break it down like wave 1, wave 2, and then you can also I'll let you separate comics from that too. So you could give you a little bit of room to work.
I think my favourites were Path of Deceit and Path of Vengeance, especially Path of Vengeance. That was fantastic. I think coming from the perspective of when I was reading it, and always, like I was saying before, always thinking about how is this going to connect forward. Those two books have far more of that than Convergence and Cataclysm do. Yeah. So I kind of felt like the two YA books should have been the adult books, and the two adult books should have been the YA books. A little bit.
They were kind of flip-flopped, I felt like.
Convergence has that romantic kind of thing that you often get, like Lost Stars, to reference another book that has romance in it. That seems to fit a little bit more with YA. I don't know why. In my mind, at least, anyway.
We haven't been heartbroken yet.
I don't know.
Divorced yet.
So maybe those two should have switched. What else? The comic. I think the Phase 1 main comic was better overall, but this one, the way it took place at the same time as the Battle of Jeddah audio drama, so you're seeing the same events from two different perspectives with people that are trying to do different things. So the comic works really well with the Battle of Jeddah audio drama. I haven't read the High Republic Adventures for this. Kind of waiting for the trade paperbacks to come out. But I will say that and also the manga, the Edge Balance Precedence, that was pretty good. It's better than either of the two mangas from the first phase, and does link in heavily with which book is that in? I can't remember which book Ashlyn Rel is in. That he gets is it Vengeance? Path of Vengeance? But he gets
man,
traumatized by the Nameless but survives kind of thing, and that manga
Oh.
kind of follows him a little bit.
He's at the very end of Path of Deceit, isn't he? For like a second, and then he's in Path
Yeah.
of Vengeance at the end.
Yeah.
And he turns
gets
out to be a total weakling.
Just completely gets into his head and sends him mad kind of thing.
He goes nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that manga is going to possibly have some big kind of ramifications for Phase 3. Because I don't know have you guys read the manga at all?
I have not. It's one thing I haven't read from.
We're such failures. No, I haven't. I've seen it on the shelf.
I don't want to say too much. Well, essentially, picks up a bit of him after Path of Vengeance. And
it's that character.
and he kind of is scribbling his madness, but it's a diary and that is kept.
That's really cool.
So I think that's pretty cool. Kind of important going forward.
So
just to have that be more important, like the ones from Phase 1 didn't feel important at all, the two mangas. So I really liked that one.
See, I didn't think they were connected because that first manga we got, like The Edge of Balance or whatever, that was just like a separate story, right?
Yeah, pretty much. The Drengish arc in one of them.
Okay. See, I didn't think that they were connected, so I'll have to.
Is the Edge of Balance in Phase 2?
Yeah.
It's Phase 1. Oh, is it Phase 1?
Yeah, there's two of them in Phase 1, and then in Phase 3 there's this one.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
What I've noticed is there's two of all of these kind of books. Like there's Path of Deceit, Path of Vengeance. There's Quest for the Catacute or whatever the hell that one is, the Hidden City, and then there's Quest for Planet X, and then Convergence and Catalyst. So these manga comics, you're saying, do go together the same way, kind of. Right, because there is two of them.
Biggest two, because one of the main characters in the manga is a Wookiee Jedi, and so in Phase 1 he's a master. In this phase, he's kind of a Padawan going into being a knight.
Yeah, because Wookiees live so long. Cool.
Jack, what about you, man? What are your favorite book or comic?
Comic's going to be The Blade again, because I like Porter Engels, like I said, the Jedi. Yeah, I love the Blade stuff. I quite like what is it, Sav, the High Republic Adventures as well. I like the fact that she's like a bounty hunter sort of thing, but I won't give too much away with that again. But yeah, The Blade comic, easy. And then book-wise, I struggle with a lot of the Jedi because there's so many people in that. But overall, the story was good with some twists and turns. I haven't read Catalysm yet or Path of Vengeance yet, but Convergence for me, out of all the books I have read, so I've read all the Phase 1 adult books, and obviously Battle of Jeddah, and Path to Seek. But yeah, Convergence for me, I thought was really, really good because it was easy to follow, I think. But also, there was lots and lots of twists and turns, again, especially with Axel Greylock and what happens with him. The planet stuff, I think, is awesome. I like they go to different locations. I'm always good for that. Lots of different ships, because I love my ships. And yeah, I think, what's her name now? Is it Natal or Natari? Gala? She's a breath of fresh air. She's a real breath of fresh air. Yeah, she's not one that just gives into love, so to speak. But yeah, I really enjoyed Convergence, mate.
Taylor?
My favorite comic, it's the High Republic, the one with Matea and Vildar Mac, and and
main Marvel one.
Yeah, so I really like that one because you learn a lot more about these characters that you kind of see in Path of Deceit, and like how Maddie meets Vildar and how they meet Taysiric. And I like that. As I said, I like the origin stories, so I like to see where people came from. So I like that comic a lot. I'm actually like 3 pages away from being finished it. I just didn't finish it yet. But my favorite book... God, I don't actually know. I think it's going to be Cataclysm or what is it? Is it Cataclysm?
Yeah, yeah.
I keep
Cataclysm.
mixing up Catalyst
The
and
second one.
Cataclysm. I don't know why. But I really like that book because it is, as I already said, I really like Gela Natai and I like Axel Greylark and I like their storyline. And I mean, but it sickens me that Gela keeps going back to Axel after he just keeps like totally betraying her. Like he throws her into a fight arena for what? For money. And
Yeah.
then he like takes her lightsaber when she lends it to him for like one single battle, and then she like betrays him, or he betrays her constantly. But she just keeps running back to him. But as Jimmy said, she's like fighting it the whole time. Like she's like, why do I feel this way? Like I'm a Jedi, I shouldn't feel like this, and why am I so upset? And she's trying to find her own way in the galaxy. But you know, love, you can't escape it.
Yeah. I think as well, there's worth mentioning. I mentioned it before in one of the recent episodes. I like Ty Yorick as well.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
an awesome Jedi. That Monster of the Temple Peak, because there's stuff in there that's connected to what's the Dooku book called? Dooku Jedi Lost, I think, or a Jedi Lost or something.
That's a good book.
Yeah, the stuff connected into with that, and that's one of my favourite audiobooks I've listened to is Jedi Lost. So yeah, I like the Ty Yorick stuff as well.
They use her as the narrator for that Nameless comic as well.
Yeah.
So there's that Nameless one and that ships. That's one thing too. The connectivity in this phase was insane.
Yeah.
Because you're reading that Nameless series
Yeah.
and like not again we're on spoiler free kind of thing, but like when they're coming back from Planet X and they get split up or whatever, I'm like, is that ship or like and just the fact that that's happening there. But yeah, for me too, Taylor. I mean, there's usually I'm like, oh, this Cataclysm. I have not read a book. It's probably my favorite book in all of it so far. I heart Lydia Kang.
We all
just,
do.
I remember sitting there and I'm reading it. We're down in our like living room and I'm reading it, and my wife looks at me. She's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I'm freaking out, man." And she's like, "I'm not sure who's gonna live." Like, legit. Like,
that's brilliant.
I mean, and then she's. I mean, I think Lydia Kang equals Order 66 for the High Republic, as much as was it Cavan Scott who wrote the Rising Storm or whatever. But
yeah,
that book, man, you don't know who's going to live. You don't know who's going to survive. I mean, it's just that story is just kind of, really kind of like setting up the rest of those books that come after it, just kind of setting up all those different views of it. But man, I flew through that book, and then of course we start finding out more about Lydia Kang, and she's a doctor. She's written other stuff. Like just a fascinating human as it is, and but yeah, that book, hands down for me, I absolutely love it. And then I think that the main Marvel series with Vildar and all of them, I really enjoyed that. I liked seeing how the Guardian fell over. They talked about it a little bit more. And I know we've talked about it in other podcasts about how Gareth Edwards brings back Jeddah, and now it's like a main part of Star Wars, which is awesome. And they're talking a little bit of the history about I had no idea that there were 4 protectors. We've only ever seen that one, and in Rogue One, and now we know why it's fallen over, or if that's the one. And I loved it. I mean, I really loved this series. So yeah,
but, and Cataclysm is also like it's the book that has like the battle, like it's almost like the head of like what we're building to, right? And Path of Vengeance is taking place at the exact same time as this book, but it's from a completely different angle. Like you learn about this battle. I don't want to get into it, but this certain battle that they're going on. This is Star Wars. It's always going to be a war. Okay. But this war, you're like looking at it from the air, from war up there. You're looking at it from the ground over in the mountains where the droids are, and then you're also underground. Like you're looking at it from like 4 different angles, and it's like the same battle. It's awesome. I love the connectability.
I absolutely agree with you, Taylor. The fact that you see it from all those different points of view, same things happening from someone's different. It's like watching one of the movies. I mean, it really is, like, because all these different battles were happening and things. But and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the spoiler side. But favorite arcs in this, because of course we're talking about this battle and everything kind of coming to a head. There's a couple different storylines. We've talked about the 2 planets, the Forever War that Taylor mentioned, and then of course you have the path of the open hand or the closed fist versus the Jedi, which kind of, and I don't know, for everyone who's read Phase 1, you're kind of chomping at the bit to see how does this turn into this kind of deal. So I just guess, what do you guys, like, what was your favorite arc out of all of these?
So my favourite storyline, I would say, has to be kind of everything to do with the Path of the Open Hand. One, just because it was interesting seeing another like force-based religion. We've touched on a few in the past, but like nothing as in depth as we've had here. Plus, when you're on Jeddah, in the Battle of Jeddah and the comic book, we encounter so many different force religions. It's crazy. But just kind of knowing what they become, how that happens, and kind of it really touches on things like radicalization and things like that, and how religions can become like cults or different kind of organizations and things, when they get twisted by people that don't necessarily believe in what they actually believe in. They're just there to take advantage of it and for their own power and gain. So I really like that. With the Iram and Erano kind of storyline, I wasn't really sure what the point of it was in regards to the wider High Republic, but Iram was featured in Phase 1 fairly prominently near the end. I won't go into any more for your sake.
Master, was it Master Comac?
Maybe Iram and Erano is going to come back in some way in Phase 3. You got to assume it has got to in some way, otherwise, why do we spend so much time there? So I preferred the Path of the Open Hand stuff, but maybe that's more because I still have lots of questions about the Aram Nash stuff.
Yeah, I get that. Taylor, what about you?
I like the Iram Arano storyline, and to kind of answer what I think it is for you, Johnny. I think just this forever war is just these two planets that have they're just in war, right? Like they're forever war. They have had a ceasefire for 5 years or whatever, but now they're back at it again. But I think what the whole point of it is the mother is using that war to help her get where she wants to be. So they're keeping this war going, like in all of these books, like the heirs to Iram and Arano are trying really hard to bring peace to their planets. I don't want to give away anything, but as many attempts as they have, it keeps failing, and it's because of the Path of the Open Hand. They're literally playing this like a card game, like they're using this war to completely occupy the Republic, like confusing them with everything. She's using the chancellors, getting the chancellors to be there. The mother's a lot smarter than we think she is, and she uses every tool that she can to get what she wants. I want to punch the mother in the face. I think everybody does there. Even her own pet
She's
does.
not actually. She's not actually a mother. Everyone who hasn't read this, Taylor's not talking about wanting to punch her own mother in the face.
No, she is no mother. She's mother of lies. But I did like that storyline. Like the parents of the heirs are in it, and like their history, and like Ziri's brother and his tragic history and stuff like that. And Ziri's like super badass warrior princess. Like, okay, she's pretty cool. And I don't know, Fontu just is lucky to be in the situation that he's in, I think. But I do like that storyline. Obviously, everyone's going to like the Path of the Open Hand storyline because that's basically the underlying story of everything, right? With a whole bunch of little stories combined. But I like the Iram and Arano one. So, yeah.
Jack?
My views are quite similar to Johnny, to be fair, especially with Path of Open Hand stuff. I like seeing how you don't just have to have the Force and a red lightsaber to take on the Jedi. like it's a different take. It's refreshing. It's not something what people thought was possible. To be fair, because when I started reading, I was like, how can these people take on Jedi's? Especially as we're in the High Republic, there are thousands of them. I'm not saying make it look easy or sound easy, but in my head, it's clever in what they're doing. So yeah, for me, it's Path of the Hope and Hand.
Yeah, I have to agree with you guys for sure. Just, I think the connection between Phase 1 and Phase 2, and, even now that Phase 2 is ended, I know we talked about this off air a little bit. I mean, they have a lot of questions and a lot of connecting to do into with Phase
Why
3.
we needed this.
Or possibly, yeah, like Johnny said, why did we need this? But also, too, like the Pathfinder stuff that you guys talked about, because some of that stuff was really cool. Maybe possibly, do you guys think that, I know this is a little off topic, but like, do we get books later on, like the High Republic's over, we're gonna get some adventures or some crews or something like that have nothing to do with the story? Because you could easily send a team out somewhere and have them, bouncing around and doing stuff. So, but yeah, I think that the open hand, closed fist stuff pretty interesting as far as how it's going to tie into the Phase 1, I guess.
What about character arcs then? What characters arcs interested you the most, Johnny?
Probably Marder. I would say. I think now. I don't feel like any of the Jedi in particular went on any like big story arc, character arcs for them.
Yeah.
But I think definitely Marder. Yeah, a lot of the people involved with the Path of the Open Hand, I think, Marder, the Mother, even the Herald.
Oh yeah.
Guys, seeing some of those motivations and stuff like that.
What about you, Taylor? What character arcs interested you?
Well, you guys already know that I really love the Gela and Axel storyline there. I don't know. I just really like it because they're not people say, well, I didn't like Convergence because it was like a big love story. Jimmy, it's a love story and it's right there in your face, and it's like,
predictable love story.
Yeah, obviously the two ones that are like right in the front of your face, falling in love for each other, is like the main story. But that's not even the one that I like. Not that right in your face. It's the behind the scenes story with Axel and Gela, who are just supposed to be like assisting these other two, right? Like these two are falling in love, splashing water into each other, like, and then there's Axel and Gela who are just like hating each other, but also liking each other at the same time. So how they figure out where they belong and where they are comfortable and where they feel the Force needs them, or Gela. I like that storyline. Gela is learning. Axel is learning very slowly, but he is learning. I guess Gela didn't have like a huge part in it. Like she wasn't like saving. I don't know. She didn't have like a huge part in it, but I really liked their storyline and her struggles, and because she's not just one of those Jedi that falls in line. She's trying to figure things out for herself, right? So I like that storyline between those two.
Jimmy?
This is going to be kind of a weird one, but I can't remember what the creatures were called, but Fel-X, do you remember those, the aliens that live in the dungeon underneath the ground?
The babies?
Yeah, so then he shows up in the because character arcs as far as like people changing their personalities, like he goes and he realizes like his family's more important, and they kind of dive into a little bit more in that mid-grade novel. I'm not a huge fan of that novel, but or that book,
X.
but I did think the Planet X. But I did think that seeing him come around or them come around to how it all played itself out. I like that one, and I could, like you guys said, like the Jedi, not a lot of them go on these huge, massive arcs that change a lot. They're kind of, and that's something I want to talk about in spoilers a little bit, how they don't seem to want to change. But and then of course Johnny, Marta, and all that stuff too. And maybe I didn't want to talk about Marta because like by the end of it, I want to punch her in the face. But
a lot of punching in the face happening.
But yeah, I just think that there are some minor characters that you don't even think about those that group until that mid-grade reader. So yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
Just the
That's
change
funny
in
how
it.
they have that character arc starts in Path of Deceit, and then you hear nothing about that character and his family until Search for
Yeah,
Planet X, Quest for Planet X.
yeah. It's real random. Maybe that's kind of why I dug it. I don't know. Probably what I got most out of that book was that family first kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
but all right.
Yeah. No, I heard the name and I was like, oh, is that the same one from like the caves? Then I had to go pick up my other book and I'm like, yes, it is. It's like, oh, that's cool. It all connects. Yeah. I want to tell spoilers, but I won't.
Yeah, don't tell spoilers.
Also,
All right.
is that seagulls that I can hear? I feel like we're
Yeah,
at the
That's
bro.
beach.
Johnny's
I should
house.
probably. They're going nuts. Hold on.
No, it's okay. We're
Yeah,
at the
go.
beach. It's lovely.
Johnny lives right on the coast. It's beautiful.
Yeah, we live right near the
You need
seafront, so this
Oh,
time of
that's
night
nice.
they go nuts.
Just close my eyes, pretend I'm on the beach.
So with the couch arcs, we're just sticking with phase 2, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
we'll try
so
to.
for me, it'd have to be Axel Greylock. I'm interested because again, I've read Caterpillar as well. I know bits and bobs. I'm interested to see where he goes
So much
from
happens
here.
with him.
Yeah, but more so keen to see if we see any more of Creighton's son as well. I think he went on a little journey, found himself a bit more. But yeah, for me, Axel Greylock really stands out, 100%. Before we start wrapping it up, we've got one more question, Johnny. So, what are your hopes or predictions then? In fact, yeah, let's go hopes and predictions for phase 3, mate.
I don't know. In terms of hopes, I don't know. I'm not putting too much on it just because I kind of trust them to know what they're doing. So I'm just kind of I'm ready for the ride. The faster it gets here, the better. In terms, I was kind of thinking in terms of how can things link forward to that. Obviously, Planet X is going to be involved. I know you haven't read the last Path of Vengeance yet, Jack. Have you read the Eye of the Storm comic from the Phase 1?
Yeah.
You've already been to Planet X then?
Yeah.
Yeah. This one. I think there's only 2 issues and
It's a
it's
good
about
one.
Mark Yonro in Phase 1. A bit about his family and a bit about... it was right near the end of Phase 1, I believe, and so it kind of looks at what they're doing at the end of that. But I think there's some stuff in there that's going to come back. What else? There's a question over for me. This name won't mean anything to you, Taylor. So if I say it, hopefully they'll get what I mean. Well, actually, Jack hasn't met the other character yet, but in Path of Vengeance at the end, there's a character called Shay who has a baby, and that baby is called Mari.
Really? I must have totally missed that. Jimmy, do you remember that?
Because Shay goes off with Yana at the end,
Mm-hmm.
Yana Rowe.
Oh, yeah!
And Shay was pregnant with a child of one of the people that dies.
Yes! Okay, I know.
So she's got a kid called Mari, and there's a character in Phase 1 called Mari.
Yes, but the last name is what's confusing
the last name isn't the same. So I'll be interested to see if that kind of comes, how that plays out, if it is a link or if it's just complete red herring or something that we'll never hear of again. Well, there's a couple of... I guess a question remains about at the end... Oh, I don't know how much I can say because of Jack, actually.
Go for it.
It's okay.
Well,
you've already ruined stuff for me. No, I'm kidding. It's fine.
with the Nameless, there's 2 rods that can help control them. Yana has one. Marder has one. Where do they end up?
I sort of knew that someone had some some sway over them to be able to control them closely. The stuff that happens in phase one.
In phase one character has control of them.
Yeah.
But I don't think he has both of those.
Interesting.
So where's the other one?
Interesting point to finish on that, Johnny. I like it. Jimmy, what about you? Hopes and predictions, mate?
Yeah, I really hope that they show us, why did we go back 150 years? We see some pieces there. We see the beginnings of some stuff. I don't want to get into a ton of spoilers, but I want to see, I really hope we get it in flashbacks in phase 3 of how things turn and become what phase 1 was all about. So I really hope they dive into that, or at least we find out, like, after phase 3 is over, they're going to go back and they're going to fill it up. So I really want those questions answered. I don't necessarily kind of like Johnny and you guys, like, I don't really have any hopes. Maybe that a Nameless escapes and we can see one later on. Wouldn't it be kind of cool if, like, in the Ray movie, she's fighting a Nameless or something?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Oh my god, that'd be terrifying.
But like, yeah, one of those things live action would probably make me pee myself a little bit. But something like that, somebody kind of, maybe some kind of faction gets away or anything that just kind of maybe, because I mean, this has been a really successful run for Lucasfilm and for Lucas Publishing. I think they understand that, and they have already started bringing in the High Republic into, Jedi Survivor and some other things like that.
Yeah.
The way to really make it and bring it home would be plop it down in either the Acolytes or bring it into one of those movies, and I think you would get. So I mean, I guess if anything, maybe we see a Nameless later on, but I really want want those answers, like Johnny and everyone said, of how things, because there's a big gap. Even though we've learned some stuff, there's still a massive gap between, where phase 2 ends and where phase 3 or even phase 1 begins. So because there's a whole nother, Marchion's dad and all this stuff. It's like, how does that all work out? So I think there's a lot of questions to be answered, and I hope we get answers.
I think Marta wrote off men after this.
What about you, Taylor?
She falls in love at the drop of a hat, I think.
Naive.
Two people in two. So.
Yeah.
What about you, Taylor? What's your thoughts and predictions, or hopes and predictions?
I don't know. I don't really know how it's all going to connect in the end, but we all know that Star Wars likes to come out out of order. So we like to jump back in time and come back and then go forward and then go back some more. So that's what Star Wars is, right? So I don't know. I'm just enjoying the ride. I don't need it to really be like, well, why did we have this? It's like, because it was freaking good to read. That's why. Right? And then some of them I even had, I was going to say some of them I had in audiobooks too. And I just like listening to them in my car on the way to work. And then I'm flipping forward in my book to try and be at the same spot. And so that was kind of a little bit confusing for myself, but I just enjoy the ride, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it all connects. And I do want to see these characters that were related to these ones that I've just met and just learned about them. So these are my first steps, folks, into the High Republic. But just to confirm, all of the High Republic stuff that has the blue High Republic, that's phase 2, right?
Yeah.
And gold, okay. And the gold, the blue. And then the gold is phase 1.
The black's going to be phase 3. And Johnny knows this. It's going to be evil. Because I've asked Johnny this same question at least 4 times before. If anyone's taught me High Republic stuff, Johnny's my go-to guy.
Yeah, Johnny is the go-to.
Yeah. He taught me all that. I think, I'll just finish up with myself then, that hopes and predictions. I'm the same as you, Taylor. I'm happy to just keep it coming. I'd like it to slow down a little bit, but that's just because I'm so busy. I can't keep reading everything. So just slow down a little bit and releasing stuff a little bit.
I think they are slowing down a little bit, aren't they?
Yeah. I think they announced that at
Phase
Celebration.
3 is going to be a little bit more spread apart.
And I think the biggest thing that I'd like, I know it's coming, is a big encyclopedia, because I can't remember everything from these books.
Yes, there is one coming out.
Character encyclopedia comes out.
I need something I can look back and go, I
know
exactly that person is and what they did. Even if it's just a little short story as well, where it'd be good if they released the encyclopedia with, let's say, for example, Ty Yorick, and it had a list of what comics that she was in and books that she was in. So you could be like, yeah,
a
that's my
printout
favourite
of
Jedi.
Wikipedia.
Yeah,
Some-
essentially.
That
Some
is
of the
cool because
encyclopedias, they
then
do have that.
Yeah.
yeah. No, that would be so cool because then you're like, I think I know this character, but where else have I seen them from?
Yeah.
And then you can look and be like, they were in that book I just
So I
read.
always miss all the
'Cause-
minor stuff. The major stuff in the
Yeah.
books and that I can remember all the time because it's the little things that I forget. But
like Ornelli, like that took me a bit to be like, okay, why is this name Ornelli so like why do I know this name from when I'm reading the comic?
Yeah.
And then that character is in Path of Vengeance, I believe.
yeah,
And it's like, okay, now I know what this guy's thinking because I've read the book where it also has
Yeah.
him doing something else. So like, yeah, I like that. The
Cool.
connectability and yeah.
Awesome. Well, on behalf of us all, Johnny Pal, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to join us today, mate. I know we super appreciate it. Also, if our listeners enjoyed our chat and loved the novels as much as we all do, then I highly suggest you follow Johnny at Starbirdfiles. So to that end, buddy, whereabouts can our listeners find you, mate?
Instagram is probably the best place, at Starbirdfiles, but you can also find that on Facebook too.
Awesome. And we'll be posting it all up later when the episode goes live. So again, look out on our Facebook group if you struggle to find it. Again, thank you so much. If our listeners have any comments, feedback, or answer any of the questions that we've asked Johnny, please, again, just post it on the socials. We'll read it out on the next show, or send us a voice note to exploretheforce@gmail.com. As always, again, thank you, Johnny Bud, and may the Force be with you.
Thank you. Light and life.
Oh, you stole my line. Oh no, I have to think of another one. Somebody else
Awesome.
go.
As always, then, we hope that you've enjoyed the show today. Again, any comments, feedback, please hit us out on the socials at Explore the Force on our Facebook and Instagram. Any voice notes or emails, please email us or send them in to exploretheforce@gmail.com. And as always, then, to wrap up the show, Taylor.
Strike me down, and I will become more powerful than you could possibly imagine.
Interesting new quote. We'll see why that is. For myself, then, there are no shortcuts on life's path. We strive, we repeat, we succeed.
Dang. And for all of us, we have spoken.
Awesome. We'll see you next week.
See you guys. Thanks for tuning in.